Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear participants. Welcome to this session of textual study of the Quran. This is the 8th session, and we have started studying Surah Baqarah. We have studied the first 39 verses in through various aspects. Today, hopefully, inshallah, we will conclude this study, and then in the next sessions, we will continue with Surah Baqarah. Today, I intend to teach you some of the important areas of translation, and we have been discussing the tafsir points and some of the explanations, as well as the direction of address in our previous sessions. And my own intent here in teaching you the way I intend to do it is that gradually we narrow it down to an understanding in which, when you read the Quran, once you have gone through this course, you are able to understand its textual message. And at the same time, when you refer to some of the lectures once again, the questions that might arise regarding some of the important aspects will also become more clear to you. So it's like narrowing down from a wider base. It's like a pyramidal study. In a pyramid, the base is always wide, and as you go up the pyramid, it becomes very narrow. And sometimes this pyramid is converted into a triangle in which there is a tip at the top. And this is what we call the study of the Quran, in a way that the whole surah, in a way, it gets into our eyes. So when we shut our eyes, it is as if we are going to imagine the whole surah. And there is this line which runs through the surah, which is the connection to its contents. It's the binding sort of line which connects all the contents. And once you close your eyes and you have gone through the whole surah, it comes into your in your own mind in the way you can imagine a simple idea. So the purpose of today's session would be that these first 39 verses, they narrow down in your mind like a pointer. And when you shut your eyes, you close your eyes, you are able to imagine and gather what you have understood from these first 39 verses. The method I will adopt here is that I would translate each verse for you literally, I mean, like word by word translation, so that you are able to understand, without knowing its Arabic, the meaning of each Arabic word and how is it connected. So I would advise you at this juncture that all of those you are present and would like to seriously go into this depth, they should note down this translation. They should perhaps make notes on their own computers or with whatever material that they have, so that once you have these notes with you, and they are going to stay with you, and you will revise them as well. But and they would be helpful for you in understanding the Quran and having a general idea of the Quranic verses without even knowing Arabic. And this is a practice that I would like to also acknowledge was in fact started off by Shah Waliullah some 200 years ago, maybe even more. And he actually taught this special way of the Quran, in which he would translate without teaching Arabic certain parts of the Quran, and then he would ask his students to keep them in mind, because you see there is a lot of repetition in the Quran. Plus, those of you who know the script or other languages which are similar to the script, for example, Turkish or Persian or Urdu, you'll find the script being so close to your own language, and some of the words are so common in these three languages that it will make a lot of sense to you and it will become easier for you to grasp. So let us start off with this literal study. I would say it's a literal translation of the Quran. And please do keep in mind that you should have some notes ready with you, maybe a notepad or anything that you have handy, so that you are able to take those notes. And when I say those notes, I refer to some of the important vocabulary. Not only the vocabulary, but also the connections which sentences have, and the way they are connected to each other. So another disclaimer is that you're not going to learn Arabic in this way. All that you're going to learn is to directly understand a verse of the Quran by actually going through these words in a repetitive sense. So let us start off, and as I said, that I would need your attention, I would need your focus, and for this you have to concentrate on the text of the Quran being displayed before you, because we are going to go through this text word by word. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alif Lam Mim. Now, of course, this is the name of the surah, and generally the translation would be Hazihi Alif Lam Mim, which means that this is Surah Alif Lam Mim. So it is like saying that the title of the surah is Alif Lam Mim. Zalika al-kitab la rayba fi. This al-kitab, this is al-kitab, and la rayba fi is a separate sentence. So zalika means this, al-kitab means the book. So zalika al-kitab means it is the book that you have been waiting for. And the word al, which is the article alif lam that has been appended to the word kitab, gives this translation, or this gives this specific translation. When we say this is the book, so it's like saying, remember, this is the book that you were promised. And as we have already discussed this, that the surah is directed towards the people of the book, in particular the Jews, and they were waiting for it. And although the opening section is not related, is not directly addressing the Jews, but we know that they are in the background. So Zalik al-Kitab is, this is that book. Al-Kitab is book, Zalika is this. La means no, Raib means doubt, Fihe means in it. So the translation I'm referring to here is that there is no doubt in it being the book of God. So La Raiba Fi Kaunihi Kitabillah is the actual translation. So some people translate it as there is no doubt in the book, which means that the book does not tell you, I mean, it is absolutely true and there's nothing false in it. Although grammatically this is possible, but the context here tells us that the fact is that the Jews were waiting for a book, and when it is said that this is the book, and the fact is that there is no doubt that this is that book. La Raiba Fi Kaunihi Kitabillah. So there is no doubt that this is that book. So la, as I said, literally means no, right, means doubt. Fi means in, and he is a pronoun which means in it. And it, of course, does not refer to the book, but it refers to the book which is referred to the book of God. So there's no doubt that this is the book of God. Hudan lil muttaqeen. Hudan is guidance. Lil is for al muttaqeen, for the righteous. So this is guidance for the righteous. Al-lazina means those who. So wherever you find this word, al-lazina, it's those who. Yu'minuna, believe. Bil ghaib, while remaining, I mean, they believe in the unseen without seeing, without witnessing it. So bay is like we say that it is a guidance for those who believe without seeing. So I would translate yu'minuna bil ghaib is believe. Yu'minuna is from iman, and it is in plural. So they believe without seeing. Bil ghaib means that they don't insist that they see something to believe in it. So through arguments, through proofs, they believe in something. So if they see smoke coming out of somewhere, they don't insist that they must go there and see that there is a fire, because we know that every place where there is a smoke, there's bound to be fire. So believers are those that they don't insist that they will only believe once they see something. No, they believe while not seeing things, simply by going through the proof of those things. Wa is always and. Yuqimuna, they adhere. As-salah is a common word, is for namaz or the prayer. Wa and mimma, from what? Razaqnahum, we give them. Razaqna, we give. Hum is them. Ma razaqnahum yunfiqun. They spend what we give. They spend of what we give of them. Also, I would like you to, at this juncture, to pause a little and also let you know that if you can stop me at any instance if there is something that you would like more clarification or some word that you might have missed. So you can always stop me and ask me any question that you would like regarding the text. But as I said, my purpose is that you fully concentrate on the text. You are able to note down the words, the meanings of these words, and later on, when you go through these words, keep them in mind, and you're able to translate these verses without having recourse to any particular translation. Your notes should suffice in making you translate these Quranic verses. And this is a target that I have in mind, that it's not just a lecture on the Quran or some important points that you should know about the Quran, but the real target is that you're able to translate Quranic verses in this manner. The next verse is وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ. Wa is and. Al-lazina is, we have already discussed this, it means those. And those, yu'minuna, this word has already been passed earlier on. Yu'minuna means believe. Bima, yu'minuna, be is one word actually. So be, you can see, is appended to the next ma, otherwise it's like a preposition to the word yu'minun. So yu'minuna be is one. They believe in ma, that unzila is revealed ilayka, to you. Ila means to, ila means towards, and ka means you. So wallazina yu'minuna bima unzila ilayka would mean, and those who believe in what has been revealed to you. Unzila, been revealed. Ila, to. Ila means to, and ka means you. And the next word is wama unzila min qablik. So wa and ma, what, unzila, revealed, min qablik is one word. Actually, the single word is min qabl, and ka is the pronoun for the word. It's the pronoun in which you address someone. So min qabl means before, and ka is you. So before you. So the complete translation would be those who believe in what was revealed to you and what was revealed before you. وَالَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِمَا أُنزِلَ إِلَيْكَ وَمَا أُنزِلَ مِنْ قَبْلِكَ. Of course, referring to the fact that they believe in the Quran and they believe in the previous scriptures. وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. Because the word iman is continuing here. So yu'minuna bil akhirah. So the verb is not repeated, but of course the implication is that they are the ones that they believe in the previous books and books that have been revealed to you. And wabil akhirah is actually something which is related to the verb which comes later on, and that is yuqinun. So it's not yuminun, it's yuqinun. So wabil akhirah would mean and in the hereafter, hum is they. Yu'minun, they believe. So, wabil akhiratihum yu'minun would be, wabil akhiratihum yuqinun would be that they are convinced of the hereafter. So, iman is having faith, and iqan or yuqinun is to be convinced of something, to have yaqeen of something. So, you can already see how many of these words also occur in Urdu especially, and also in some of the other languages like Turkish and Persian. So bil akhiratihum yuqinun means that they are the ones who have iqan, who are convinced of the hereafter. Akhirah is hereafter. Ulaika, they. Ala, they are on. Hudan is guidance. Min rabbihim, from. Min is from. Rabbihim means their Lord. Rabb is Lord. Him is they. So the translation would be they are the ones who are on guidance from their Lord. Ulaika, they, ala, on, hudan, guidance, min rabbi, from Lord, and him is their Lord. So they are on guidance from their Lord. Wa ulaika humul muflihun. So the word, can you see, is repeated here. Wa is always and. I mean, in most cases it means and. So ulaika, they, whom, it is like stressing something, so it's a repetitive pronoun here. So they, ulaika is also they, and hum is also they, literally being translated. Al muflihun means those who succeed. So these are the ones who succeed. So they are the ones who are on guidance from their Lord, and they are the ones who will succeed.
Dr.
Next,
Saleem?
in lazina kafaru. Yes.
Dr. Saleem, sorry, before you move on,
Yes.
we have a small question from a participant, Abdullah Zishan. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. I had a question on the word muttaqin, right? So this concept of being like this book is a guidance for the ones who are righteous people. So was there some kind of measurement of who were the righteous people when this was being released?
I think I have explained this in my first lecture, and if you were not present, I would request you to please look it up. So at the moment, we are not taking tafsir questions because we have already dealt with them in the first 3 lectures. The purpose of today's lecture is to narrow down it on the translation. So if you would like to understand any part of the translation that I've just done, you're most welcome. Otherwise, any tafsir question, any explanatory question has already been answered earlier on. So I think
Sure.
please
My bad.
kindly just look it up. Okay.
My bad. I apologize.
So in الذين كفروا سواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. Inna is indeed. Al-lazina, you can see that how many times this word has been repeated before. So you should now know that al-lazina means they who. It has been mentioned earlier as al-lazina yu'minuna twice earlier. So this is the same word. So al-lazina is they who, in is indeed. So indeed they who. Kafaru means disbelieved. Indeed they who disbelieved. Sawaun means equal. alayhim, ala is on, him is them. So it is equal for those who have disbelieved. What is equal? Anzartahum. Means whether, anzartahum means you warn them. So anzarta is warn, and hum, and anzarta is actually you warn, and hum is them. So you warn them. So is whether, anzarta you warn, and hum is them. So it is equal for those who have disbelieved, that whether you warn them, again is or. So the word here means or. So whether you warn them, or lam is not. Tunzirhum, not warn. So tunzir is warn, and hum is again a pronoun, means them. La means no, and yu'minuna is again repeated. You know that it has already occurred earlier on, is that they will not believe. So the sense is that indeed those who have disbelieved, in the lazina kafaru, indeed those who have disbelieved, equal on them, whether you warn them or you don't warn them, they are not going to believe. So the Prophet is being addressed that such are these people, that they have decided to deny the call of this Quran. So for such people, whether you warn them, which means anzartahum or lam tunziru, don't warn them, la yu'minun, they are not going to accept faith.
Dr. Saleem, we have a
Khatam
question.
Allahu ala. Right, please go ahead.
Imran, please go ahead.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Shehzad. Just a quick question. Yuminuna bima unzila ilayka wa ma unzila min qablik. Is it talking to us or every reader, or even or just at that time? That's my first part of the question. And have you explained anywhere?
I mean,
in the
this
past?
is. I think I have addressed this question in the very first lecture, that these verses address the Prophet. So ilayka is the Prophet. What has been revealed to you, O Prophet, and what was revealed before you, O Prophet. So Qablika is referring to what, it is addressing the Prophet. None of us is being addressed here.
I see. In your previous lecture series, is there somewhere where we can look up if this also refers to previous books, so we can listen to the details of that? Like the books, that from Ahmed.
So I think I've explained this earlier on in this series.
Okay.
So allazina yu'minuna bima unzila ilayka means that they are the ones who believe in what has been revealed to you, O Prophet, and what has been revealed before you, O Prophet.
Okay.
So it is something to this effect.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So khatamallahu, and I do hope that you are jotting down these individual meanings of words, because this is going to help you if you can do it. And this is, as I said, the real purpose, that you are able to translate these verses yourselves as well. So khatama means to put a seal. Allah means God. So God has put a seal. Allah is on. Again, this is a word has already been repeated. Qulub is the plural of qalb, and qalb means heart, and him means they. So khatamallahu ala qulubihim would mean that God has put a seal on their hearts. Khatama, to put a seal. Allah means God. So God has put a seal. Allah is on. Qulub, the plural of qalb. Him is them. So God has put a seal on their hearts. Wa and Allah on. Sam'a means ears, and him means their. So he has put a seal on their hearts, and he has also put a seal on their ears. And this, of course, was as a punishment, that they are, because of the fact that they have decided to deny the call of God's messenger. It is a deliberate rejection. So as a result of that, the punishment is that God has put a seal on their hearts and on their ears. And then the verse continues, وَعَلَىٰ أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةٌ. So eyes on, absar is the plural of basar, which is eyes. Him, there. Ghishawa again means a curtain. So ala absarihim ghishawa would mean, and on their eyesight is a curtain. This is the punishment, that because they have decided to deny this book of God intentionally, so the punishment that they have received in this world from God is that God has put a seal on their eyes, on their hearts, and on their ears, and on their eyes is a curtain, so that now they are not able to accept guidance. Because you see, when everything is sealed, your faculties are not able to understand anything or look or hear anything. So it means that God has put a veil on them and they are not able to accept guidance. And so this is the punishment in this world. And the next part tells us that there is another punishment in the hereafter, and that is wa and lahum. La means for, hum means them, azab means punishment, azim means great. So, and for them is a punishment great. And for them, la is for, hum is them, azab is punishment or torment, azim is great. And the context tells us that this is referring to the hereafter. So in this world, the punishment that they get in rejecting intentionally is that their hearts and their eyes and their ears are sealed. And in the hereafter, remember the word hereafter is not mentioned here, but as you would gradually read the Quran, you will understand that this word azabun azim, the way it is mentioned here, generally refers to the azab or the punishment of the hereafter. So this is the punishment in this world, and this is the punishment in the hereafter. And then we say, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. And from among people, wa is and, min is from, annas, of course, is these people. Remember, we translated this as these people. The word nas means people. And when it is appended by an alif lam, it refers to specific people, as if we say these people. And from these people. So wa means and, min is from, annas is people. And from these people, man means who. There are who. There are those also is a translation, and there are these people who yaqulu, who say. Yaqul means who say. Man is who, yaqul is say. So among these people there are those who say amanna. Amanna means we have believed. Billahi, in God. Wa bil yawmil akhir, and in the day of judgment, on the day of judgment, or in the last day. So it would mean that amongst these people, so remember, it's not all the people, it is these people. And annas is always appended by an alif lam, which is a definite article. It's referring to a specific category of people. So, and amongst these people are those who say, we have believed. Amanna billah means we have believed in God. Wa bil yawmil akhir, and in the last day. Wa ma hum bi mu'minin. And ma is here not. So the word ma has many meanings. So one of them is not, and another one is that who. So we have just passed that meaning earlier on as well. But here the word ma means a negation. Wa ma hum, hum means they, mu'minin, bi mu'minin would mean they are not people who believe. So wa ma hum bi mu'minin would mean that although they say, so وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ, amongst these people are those who say that we have believed in God and in the hereafter, whereas in reality they have not believed. وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. وَمَا means wa, ma means no, hum means they, بِمُؤْمِنِينَ means professed faith. So even though they say that we have believed in God and the hereafter, the fact is that they do not believe. This is what the verse implies. يُخَادِعُونَ اللَّهَ. يُخَادِعُونَ means they try to deceive. So khadara is also a word which is used in other languages. So yukhadi'una means they try to deceive Allah, God. Wa, and allazina, those amanu, who have believed. So it would mean that they try to deceive God and those who believe. Wa ma yakhda'una. Wa and ma means no. Yakhda'una, deceive. Illa means except. Anfusahum, anfusa means their soul, nafs, anfus is the plural of nafs, and hum is they. So anfusahum would mean they themselves. Wa and ma means no. Yash'urun, have understanding. So this would mean that they try to deceive God, yukhadi'un Allah wallazina amanu, and those who have believed. So in other words, they try to deceive God and they try to deceive the believers. وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ, but the fact is that they do not deceive except their own selves. وَمَا, not يَخْدَعُونَ, deceive, illa means except, أنفسهم, themselves. وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ, but they don't have any understanding, but they are not aware of it. They don't have shu'ur of it. So the fact is that they try to deceive God and the believers, but the fact is that they end up deceiving their own selves, and they don't even know that they are deceiving themselves. So this is the sense of the word. وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ means that they don't even know that they are deceiving themselves. فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٌ. Fi means in. Qulub, already we have passed by this word. It's the plural of qalb. Qalb means heart. Him is they. So fi qulubihim would mean their hearts. Maradun, ailment. So fi qulubihim would mean that in their hearts is an ailment, is a disease. And we have already discussed this, that when the word disease or maraz occurs here, the way it has occurred here, it refers to either jealousy or to nifaq or hypocrisy. But in this context, it refers to jealousy, because the Jews were jealous of the fact that why is it that the Prophet has come to a different lineage amongst their cousins, and why has he not come from their own lineage? So, fi qulubihim maradun would mean that they are the people in whose hearts there is an ailment. Maraz is ailment. Fazada, fa is a particle which means thus. Zada, increase, the same word that we use in Urdu as well. Hum is they. So, fi qulubihim maradun, in their hearts is an ailment. Maraz, ailment. Fa, therefore, zadahum, increased them. Allah, God, maraza, their ailment. So, in their hearts is an ailment, and God has increased them in this ailment. Again, this is a punishment. And when they have this jealousy in their hearts, then the punishment of this jealousy is that God makes them even more jealous. So, fazadahumullahu marada, that God increases this jealousy. Wa, again, this has occurred before, and lahum means for, hum means them, walahum, for, and for them. Azab, Aleem means a painful. So, and for them is the painful torment. Bima is because. Kanu, they used to. Yakzibun, lie. So the verse would mean that in their hearts is an ailment, and God thus increased their ailment. And for them, again, you can understand, as you could see from the very previous paragraph, it ended with walahum azabun azim. And prior to that, you just saw that how the punishment of this world has been mentioned by the words khatamallahu ala qulubihim. And exactly similar way, this verse tells us that in their hearts is an ailment, and their worldly punishment is that God increases this ailment. And the punishment in the hereafter is the one which is being referred to next. And in the hereafter for them is a painful torment, bima kanu yakzibun, because of what? Because of their lying, because they used to lie. So you see how the context readily tells us that azabun aleem, although hereafter is not mentioned, but because of the fact that it is appended to a worldly punishment, which is fazadahumullahu marada, we automatically understand that the next part refers to a grievous torment which relates to the hereafter. And we shall study later on as well that because there is another torment for people who deny intentionally, and that torment is bound to come in this world as well. So at times the Quran mentions the torment of the hereafter and the torment of this world to be the same, because for them, for people who intentionally deny the Quran or a messenger of God, for them the torment actually visits them in this very world. So bima kanu yaksibun, because they used to lie. The next part or the next verse is wa iza qila lahum la tufsidu fil ard. Wa is and, iza is when. And when. Qila, said. La, for whom. In fact, qila la is one word. La is a preposition. So you say and when said to them. Whom is them. And when it is said to them. So wa is and, iza is when. Qila la is one package. It's like a word which is with its preposition. So said to, and when it is said to, and whom is them. So and when it is said to them, what is said to them? La, don't. Tufsidu, disorder. Fil, fi means in. Al ard means earth. So the translation would be, and when it is said to them, do not spread disorder in the earth. Qalu, their reply is, so qalu is they say, innama, indeed we, nahnu, again is the same word as we. So innama nahnu, we, muslihun, we are the ones who are reformers. So muslih is the person who does islah. So you can clearly see that the word al-ard is mentioned. And the earth, when it is said that do not spread disorder in the earth, what does it mean? Does it mean the whole earth? Of course not. So remember, the word al-ard is being used. The surah is revealed in Medina. They're talking about Medina. So especially the Jews are being told, although the word earth is being used, a more better translation would be that do not, when it is said to them that do not spread disorder in this land. So you see how specific connotation emanates from a general sentence. Although the word land is used or al-ard is used, but it's not referring to the whole earth or every land found in this earth. It is referring to the land of Medina, because this surah was revealed in Medina. And because of the fact that the Jews are being addressed, so translation would be that when it is said to them that do not spread disorder in this land, which is of course this land of Medina. What is their reply? Qalu means they say. Innama is indeed we. Nahnu is also we. Indeed we. So you see, this is this repetition in the Quran which does occur to emphasize. Innama is also it's called the particle of specification, which means indeed only. So innama can also be translated as only. So they say only we. Nahnu is we. Muslihun, reformers. So their reply is that, well, you'd say that we spread on disorder in this earth. No way, this is not correct. Their reply is innama nahnu muslihun. In fact, we are the ones who are the reformers. We do not spread disorder. We are reformers. Ala innahum humul mufsidun walakin la yash'urun. Allah is beware. Beware. Innahum, inna is again indeed, hum is they. So beware, indeed they. Hum is again they. Again, you see the word, the pronoun hum is repeated twice, once with inna and once separately. And this is very common in the Arabic language. The pronouns, they get repeated. And the purpose of this repetition is to add stress. So if I say beware, indeed they. This is a literal translation, but in fact, the meaning would be that indeed they. So the word they is stressed. Indeed they, al-mufsidun, people who spread disorder. So the answer which God gives them is that they say that they are reformers. No, beware, indeed it is they who are spreading disorder. Wow is but. So you see, the text tells us that just as the word wow is also used for and, but here it is used for like an istidrak. It is like a emendative, and the word means but. Lakinna is the same as we use in Urdu, which which means that except or but, and you can see that lakinna and wow, in fact, they connote the same meaning. La is no, yash'urun, again, you have passed by this word, this is from sha'ur, that they don't have cognizance, they don't have insight. So the verse would mean, beware, it is they who spread disorder, but they do not have cognizance of it. Walakinna, but they, la, no, yash'urun, understanding, or sha'ur, or cognizance.
Dr. Saleem, we have a question.
Okay.
Shazia Khan, please go ahead.
Ji, Assalamu alaikum. It's about the verse number 10. Zadahum,
Yes.
is that a past tense? Like yazidahum would be the present.
Yes, it is the past tense.
So it means that this is for the fazadahumullahu marada is a past tense. Walahum azabun alimum is a future tense.
No. Yes, I mean, you see, the noun sentences, which are jumla ismiya, and forgive me because I would not like to indulge in these terms, and also I would, not advise you to go after the Arabic part, because then in that case we would have to entertain the whole linguistic aspect by going into the details of the grammar, and I don't want to go into these details, and I would like to teach you the translation without learning the grammar of this language, because that is an entirely different route. So for all practical purposes, you can just understand to mean that increased. So God increased them in their marad, and this happened in this world. And walahum azabun alim, and for them in the hereafter would be a pain. So this is in contrast. When something is mentioned in this world, then the next thing, when it occurs in this way, the way it has occurred here, it would not relate if you also make it refer to this word. So this would mean that for the moment they are passing through this ailment, through this punishment, that God has made them even more jealous, and then there is another punishment which awaits them, and that is a painful torment.
And then there is again past. Bima kanu yakzibun. That was past.
Bima kanu yaksibun. Yes, because of the fact that they had been lying in the past. So you see, a punishment can only come after you have done a bad deed. So instead of going into the grammatical part, you just gauge it from the sense. So when you say that you are being punished for lying, so it is automatically understood that lying must have occurred in the past, because punishment always comes after the sin.
So is this just to signify like the importance of the azab, that Allah switched from past, present, past, future?
No,
Kind of-
always. I mean, you see, the purpose is to tell them that they are not going to go scot-free either in this world or in the next. So they are caught in a web of God's punishment, both in this world and in the hereafter. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ آمِنُوا كَمَا آمَنَ النَّاسِ wa and iza is when. So please, if you are noting down these words, you will always remember that many of these words have occurred in the past or in the previous verses. So iza has already occurred previously. Iza means when. Qilala is actually one word. Qila is said. Qilala means said to. To is the preposition which is signified by the word la. So qilala means said to. Hum means them. And when it is said to them, what is said to them? Aminu. This is an imperative, which means believe, profess belief. This is a command. When it is said to them, believe. إِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ آمِنُوا Kama means the way. Kama means the way, in a similar way. Kama amana nas, amana means to believe. An-nas, people. Qalu anu'minu kama amana sufaha. So you can see that the word an-nas refers to Muslims clearly. So the sense is that when it is said to them, believe the way people have believed. Wa and iza, when qilala, said to whom, them, aminu, profess faith. So when they are ordered and they're told, profess faith, the way these people have professed faith. So, I mean, these people, of course, referring to Muslims. Again, you see the word believer is not mentioned. And there is a alif lam on the word nas, which automatically tells us that it is a specific group of people which is being addressed. And here the address is towards Muslims or the believers, because they were already mentioned in the first paragraph as the ones who had professed faith. So it is said that when these people are asked to believe the way these people have believed, what do they reply? Qalu means they reply. Should, nu'minu, we believe, kama, in the way, amana, believed, as-sufaha. Sufaha is the plural of safi, and safi is foolish. So the sense would be, when it is said to them that believe the way these people have believed, they reply, should we believe the way these foolish people have believed? So they are actually calling the believers or the Muslims that they are foolish people. So وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ آمِنُوا كَمَا آمَنَ النَّاسِ قَالُوا, they reply, نُؤْمِنُوا, should we believe, kama, the way, kama is the way, amana, believe, as-sufaha, the foolish. So should we believe the way these foolish people have believed? So in return, God is slightly angry and he says, Allah innahum humus sufaha'u walakin la ya'lamun. So Allah, remember, this word has already passed by. Allah means beware. Look at verse 12. It says Allah innahum. Allah is exactly the same as beware. So just as in the verse 12 you said Allah innahum, we have Allah innahum once again being repeated. So Allah innahum humus sufaha. So again you see the repetition of the pronoun. You already have the pronoun in innahum, and you find it being repeated once again in the next part. It occurs once again as hum. As-sufa is the plural of safi. Safi means foolish. Walakin means but. La, no, ya'lamun, to have knowledge. So the translation would be, beware, they themselves are the foolish, but they do not know. Walakin, but, la, no, la means no, ya'lamun means knowledge. So the answer is that you are calling believers as foolish people. The fact is that you are being foolish, you're acting foolish, and you are not even aware of the fact that you are foolish, because you are trying to deceive God by saying that we have believed in God in the last day, and you skip the belief in prophethood. And by skipping this belief in prophethood, when you say that you have believed, in your mind you say we have believed, but when you say these words from your tongue, you actually refer to the fact that we have only believed in God in the last day, and you skip the belief in prophethood. So it is to this fact that the Quran tells us that, well, it is not the Muslims who are foolish. Ala innahum humus sufaha. It is they who are foolish, but they don't have any knowledge of this foolishness. Walakin la ya'lamun. Again, wa is and, iza is when, laqu is to meet. So if you have read the Quran elsewhere, you'll find laqa, laqu, all these words referring to meeting, to meet someone. Wa is and, iza is when, laqul lazina amanu, laqu means meet, allazina, they who, amanu, have professed faith. Qalu, they say, amanna, we have believed. So the translation would be, and when they meet those who have professed faith, they say, we have also professed faith. Wa iza, and iza is when, laqu is to meet, allazina is they who, amanu, those who have professed faith, qalu, they reply or they say, amanna, yes, we have professed faith. So when it is, when they meet the believers, they say, we have professed faith. And then what happens? Wa iza khalaw ila shayatinihim. Wa is again and, iza is when. Khalaw ila means to meet in private. The word khalwat is from the word khala, exactly the word khalwat. So khala is, khalaw ila means to meet in private. Shayateen is the plural of shaitan, and here it means leaders. Him is there. So the translation would be, and when they meet their leaders in private, qalu, they say, inna, indeed, ma'akum. So inna means indeed we, ma'akum, are with you. Innama, indeed we, nahnu, we, mustahzi'un, making fun, jesting. So the sense would be that when they meet those who believe, they say we believed. And when they meet their believers, their leaders in private, they say, inna ma'akum, we are with you. Innama nahnu mustahzi'un, we were only jesting or making fun with the Muslims. So remember, this is a deception they are creating, that with the Muslims they would say we have believed, and their sense that they would believe in would be that they're just believing in God in the last day. But when they would meet their leaders, and their leaders would actually chide them and rebuke them, that why do you go and make this statement in front of the believers that you have believed? They say, well, we have just told them that we are just jesting with them, we are just joking with them. The fact is that we are with you, and O leaders, we are with you. So qalu, that they would reply, inna, indeed we, ma'akum, with you, innama, indeed, nahnu, we, mustahzi'un, joking. So it means that we were joking with them, in fact we are with you. And then once again God becomes angry and replies, Allahu yastahzi'u bihim wa yamudduhum fi tughyanihim ya'mahun. Allah, God, yastahzi'u, jokes or makes fun, bihim, with them, wa yamudduhum, and gives them respite, fi, in, tughyan, rebellion, him, there, ya'mahun, to wander about. So the sense would be that God, in fact, jokes with them and gives them respite in their rebellion so that they can wander about. You see how the sense is made? Allah, God, yastahzi'u, make funs, bihim, with them, vayamudduhum, and gives them respite, fi, in, tughyan, their rebellion, and him is there. So gods give them respite in their rebellion, ya'mahun, they keep wandering. So this is a ploy with God, that when God gives them respite, they think that is in their favor. But the fact is that when God gives them the respite, He makes them go astray even more, so that He can catch them once and for all. And this is how God makes fun of them. Ulaika, they, allazina, who, ishtara means to buy, al-dhalala means misguidance, bil huda means hidayat or guidance. So it is they who have bought misguidance in place of guidance. And this is the way the Quran comments, that they have bought guidance in place of, they have bought misguidance in place of guidance. Fa is thus, ma is no, rabihat means to profit, to have a profit. Tijara means their business. So their business does not bear any profit. Fama rabihat tijaratuhum, hum is there. So by now you should know that hum is a pronoun in the plural, referring to them. At times it is translated as their, or at times as them. So فَمَا رَبِحَتْ تِجَارَتُهُمْ would mean that their business yields no benefit. It yields no profit. وَمَا كَانُوا مُهْتَدِينَ. Wa and ma, no. Kanu, they used to. Muhtadeen means guided. So neither has their business yielded any profit, nor are they guided. وَمَا كَانُوا مُهْتَدِينَ. And then mathaluhum. Mathal means their example. I mean, in fact, you can say example, and hum is there. So masaluhum would mean their example. Ka masale. Ka and misal is, I mean, it's almost the same. It means as, similar. So their example is the example of what? Allazi, of a person. So remember, you have learned the word allazina. So allazina is always a plural, and allazi is the singular. And just as allazina means they who, allazi means he who. So allazina is the plural of allazi, and allazi means he who. So allazina is they who, allazi is he who. So their example is the example of a person who is istawqada. Istawqada means lit up, to light up something. Nara means fire. So their example is the example of that person who lit up a fire. Therefore, lamma, when, adaat means became radiant, became something which becomes lighted up. So falamma adaat. So when, ma hawlahu means, ma means what? Hawla means around. Who means him. Hawla is around, who is him. Zahaba Allah, in fact, is a term which means God takes away. And Zahaballahu bi nurihim, which means it means that God takes away their light. Nur is light, him is there. Zahababe is one word. So Zahababe actually means take away, which means that destroys their nur, it destroys their lights. Zahaballahu bi nurihim, God destroys their light, which means that they are no longer able to see. Wattarakahum. Taraka means leave. Hum means them. So wattarakahum, I mean, is that God left them. Taraka is in the past tense. So wattarakahum, fi means in, zulumat means darkness, la means no, and yubsirun means to see. The sense would be that their example is the example of a person who lit up a fire. Istawqada nara falamma. So when that fire lit up what was around him, the atmosphere was lit up. Zahaballahu bi nurihim. God took away their eyesight. Wattarakahum, and left them to wander in darkness. La yubsirun. So they are not able to see anymore. La yubsirun. Basara is something that we know is to see. So وَتَرَكَهُمْ فِي ظُلُمَاتٍ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. And then summum bukmun
Dr.
umyun.
Saleem,
For whom?
sorry.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. We have a couple of questions. Shazia Khan, please
Okay.
go ahead.
Sorry. Ishtara, sometimes it comes for buying, sometimes for selling. So how do you distinguish
Yes.
between buying and selling?
This is the context tells us very readily. So you see, the word ishtara actually means to give preference. The root is to give preference. This is, the root meaning or the original meaning. So buying or selling is something which is as a result incorporated in that. So in fact, the words would mean that they give preference to misguidance over guidance. So ishtara dhalala bil huda would mean that they have bought guidance. It cannot mean that they have sold guidance. So you see, the context will let you know that when you put the word sell in place of ishtara, it will make no sense. It can only make sense when you you make it to understand. You understand by this word as something that you buy. So they are the person who have bought misguidance in place of guidance or for guidance.
Okay, maybe later
Is it
in
clear
the
now?
always in the context, yeah, I understand, but not alone. Like I never.
Of course.
Yeah.
You see, when words they occur, these are called the asdad. Asdad means the word having opposite meaning. So to buy and to sell are two opposite things. So there are several words in Arabic like that, but it's always the context which tells us that whether it's used in one sense or the other sense.
Okay, thank you.
And the second question in the chat asks, the word misguidance, would that be dhalala, or is that something else?
Yes. Zalala is misguidance, and huda means guidance. So it is the opposite of guidance. So they have bought misguidance. I mean, in other words, they have given preference to go astray than to be guided. This is what the sense is.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem.
Summum bukmun umyun fahum la yarjun. Deaf, dumb, blind. Summum, deaf, bukmun, dumb, umyun, blind. Fa, therefore, hum, they, la, don't, yarjun, turn. So the fact is, they are deaf, they are dumb, they are blind, and they do not return as a result. So this is how the Quran has said that, well, if you look at these people, that how they behave, that there is a person, of course, referring to Prophet Muhammad, that he lit up the atmosphere around them through the Quran, but because of the fact that they denied him and they never wanted to have to believe in that in the book of God, so they intentionally rejected it. And the fact is that this has made them deaf, dumb, and blind to the call of the Quran, la yarji'un, and they are not going to return. So this is the example, as we have already discussed, of the people who had decided to deny. Remember, there are two groups being discussed. So the first group was actually discussed by the words innal lazina kafaru, and they are the rejectors. And then there was a second group who wanted to strike a compromise between truth and, between Islam and the rest of the religions. And they are referred to by the previous verses as وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يَقُولُ. And then we have a parable of both these groups. We've just studied the parable of the first group, which is مَثَلُهُمْ كَمَثَلِ الَّذِي اسْتَوْقَدَ نَارًا. So this is the parable of the first group. And now comes the parable or the similitude of the next group, and that is aw. It starts off with aw. Aw means or. Just as means or, aw also means or. Or, ka, like. Sayyib means rain. Min, from. As-sama means sky. Or that of rain from the sky. So the sense would be that their example is that of rain from the sky. So the word masaluhum, which had occurred earlier on, is actually understood to imply here as well. So when we say that their example is of this, or it is of this. So the sense is, or it is of this. And this is the example of the second group. Aw, that of rain from the sky. Fihi, fi, this has passed a number of times before earlier on. Fi means in, he means it. So, or in this, or like of rain from the sky, in it is zulumat. Zulumat is a plural, which means darkness. Wa ra'd, ra'd means thunder. Barq means lightning. So, or rain from the sky in which there is darkness and thunder and lightning. Yaj'aluna, they put. Asabi'ahum, asabi'a is fingers. Hum, their. So they put their fingers. Fi is in. Azan, their ears. Min, from. As-sawaiq, this thunder. Saiqa, lightning. So the sawaiq is the plural of saiqa, which means lightning. Hazara means fear. Maut is of course death. So the sense would be yaj'aluna asabi'ahum, they put their fingers, asabi'a, fingers, hum, there, they put their fingers, fi, in, azanihim, their ears, minas sawaik, because of the lightning, fearing death. So they think that this lightning is going to land on them. So instead of taking any evasive action, they adopt the policy of an ostrich. They just try to not listen to the thunder and lightning. And at the same time, they've just put their fingers in their ears, fearing death because of the lightning which is striking around them. And so you see, this is a beautiful parable once again. So the first parable was regarding people who had decided to deny, and this is the parable of people who would like to strike a compromise, because as you can see from the next verse, how it aptly fits them. But let's first finish this verse. So Wallahu, and Allah, God, muhitum, surrounding, bil kafirin, the disbelievers. So this would mean that, and God is surrounding these disbelievers. Once again, you need to understand that the kafirin here is al-kafirin. It's not all the disbelievers of the world. It is these disbelievers. So the correct translation would be that God is surrounding these disbelievers who are referred to in this parable.
Dr.
So you
Saleem?
see, as you go along in this translation, one thing that you need to understand is that whenever you study the Quran, always translate the Alif Lam. Always translate some of the aspects which might become clear to you, especially when this Alif Lam is appended to Al-Insan, to Al-Kafir, to An-Nas. It doesn't refer to all mankind, to all kafirs, or to all insan. I mean, there are always specifics to it. Okay, so Yakadul Barq. Yakado is almost. Al-Barq, lightning. Yakhtafu, take away. Absarahum, Absar means eyesight. Hum means there. So it is as if this lightning is going to take away their eyesight. Kullama means whenever. Adha'a, Ada Allah actually is one word. Ada Allah means light up for whom, them. Mashaw means to walk. Fi is in and he is it. So it is as if lightning is going to take away their eyesight. Whenever it lights up, whenever the atmosphere around them lights up, mashaw fi, they are able to walk in it. Wa iza Azlama, wa and iza when, Azlama darkness, alayhim on them, qamu they stop. So whenever there is lightness, whenever there is light and it lights up their atmosphere, they can walk in it. But when there is darkness on them, qamu they stop. So remember, we are studying a parable that there's thunder. These are like warnings of the Quran. Sayyib is rain, which is, similitude for the Quran itself, that the Quran is raining down. It's from the heavens, and there are these verses which warn them, and these verses make them very, very scared. I mean, they're scared of these verses. Instead of listening to them, they try to put their fingers in their ears, but they don't know that God is surrounding them from all sides, and this light is almost going to take away their eyesight, the way it did of the previous people. Remember, for the previous parable, the words were, Zahaballahu binurihim. God took away their eyesight, their light. But for them, because of the fact that they are still people who would like to listen, they'd like to strike a compromise, for them, it's not that their eyesight is taken away. It is as if it is almost near that, or close to the fact that God is going to take away their eyesight, but he does not. Kullama, whenever they are able to walk in the light, they do so. But whenever there is darkness, they stop. Again, referring to the fact that whenever they find a chance to move forward, they do move forward. But when there is darkness, which means that such is the warnings of the Quran, that they find no space to walk, then they just stand there. So walau sha Allahu la zahaba bi sam'ihim. Va is and, law is if. Sha'a, wanted. Allah, God. So, and had God wanted, la zahaba bi sam'ihim, he would have taken away their hearing. Some, you have already seen this word, is hearing. Him is their hearing. Absarihim means their eyesight. So had God wanted, he would have taken away their eyesight, their hearing and their eyesight. But then there is a gap. God does not say that he has not taken it away, but it is understood from the context that had God wanted, he would have taken away their hearing and their eyesight. And the next words are, Inna Allah ala kulli shayin qadir. Inna is indeed, Allah is God, Allah is on, kulla is everything, shay is, in fact, kulla is every, shay is thing, and qadir means powerful. So indeed, God on everything powerful. This is the literal meaning. So indeed, God has power over everything. So the fact is that had God wanted, he would have taken away their eyesight and their hearing. And God is very powerful over everything. So automatically it means that he did not take away. Had he wanted, he could have, but he gave them respite. But for the previous category, he did not give them respite because they had decided to deny. They were deliberate in their denial. For them, because of this rejection, God took away the light that was for them. But for this category, there is still some hope which remains, and therefore they are given this chance. And remember that God has power over everything. He could have taken away their eyesight and their hearing, but he did not. Yes, please, Mubashir Sahab, you can go ahead with your question now.
Thank you. So my first question is related to aw kasayyibam. Here, we are talking about another parable, and we are also talking about the second group. But all means what I could understand, or
Yes.
in the meaning.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it sounds like it is continuity of the first group, first parable about them, and then another parable about them. So how do we differentiate?
Right. Yes. So you see, in the Arabic language, the word aw also comes for division or taqseem. So taqseem means this or this. I mean, although it's literally translated as or, which means ya in Urdu, but this particle is also understood to mean that this or this, which means that there is a division between things which have already occurred in the past. So you'll see this style very common as we move along in the Quran, that the word aw, when it is used like this, it is actually, it's like dividing something into two, just as we often use this in our own language as well. So when we say or and at times, we are not referring to the same thing. We are also referring to a different thing. So this is the grammatical explanation. But what makes it conclusive is that when you look at the context and when you look at how these words are portraying the nature of the parable, you can clearly understand that the same people are not being mentioned. You see, for the first people, it had been decided that they are deaf, dumb, and blind, and they are not going to return. And God has taken away their radiance and their light. So you see, this is something which has happened. When it comes with the word aw kasayyib min as-samai, which means this now means that there is another category which is being discussed. Otherwise, the examples or the traits which are being discussed in this second parable, they do not fit the first category, because for them it had been decided that because they had decided to deny, God had decided to punish them, and now they cannot turn back. They are deaf, dumb, and blind. But as for these people, there is still some hope in them. When there is light, they walk. When there is no light, they stop. And had God wanted, He would have taken away their eyesight, but He did not. So you see, there is this distinction which is found within these words, which tells us that this parable cannot relate to the first category.
Right, sir. So the other question is about Zahaba. In the verse 17, I think it is Zahaba, and in the last verse, it's La Zahaba. So what is the difference between the two?
So Zahaba Be means to take away, and La Zahaba means to not take away. Right. So La is just a particle of negation.
Right. And so the last question is, in Allah, this here you have translated inna as indeed. But in the beginning, from the verse 6, inna allazina kafaru, there is no such word used as indeed. So what is the difference?
Inna is if you literally translate it in verse 6, it is also indeed those people who have denied. So inna is like, I mean, it's a particle of assertion. So the way we say in the Urdu language as beshak. So inna is indeed, or surely is another translation. So there's no difference between verse 6 and here, which you refer to as inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. There also the translation would be that indeed those who have denied. And here the translation would be, indeed, God is powerful over everything.
Sir, I'm referring to Al-Bayan. There it is used Beshak in the last verse, 20th, but similar word is not used in the translation of verse 6.
Yes. You see, what happens is when you use a literary translation, at times the author does not want to express the fact that the word inna is giving any stress on that. And this is something which varies in eloquence from various translators. You'll find some other translator, giving this translation, and still some others not giving. Because you see, the stress which is transferred is something which is always subjective. So there could be a translator who thinks that the word inna is not giving any stress. It's not transferring any stress. And there are other instances in which some translators could think, well, there is some stress involved. And this is how, at times, there is a difference of understanding. But for all practical purposes, what you need to understand is that because we are today studying the literal translation, so it is always better to stick to this literal translation. The idiomatic translation is something that we slowly will come to once we are through with this literal translation.
Thank you very much.
Our next question is from Akram. Please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. Sir, yeah, two words, Qasayyib and As-Sawaiki. Does it mean like rainstorm? Because it's like, farm 4 or 5.
It means a downpour. So it's like it says
Heavy.
like there's heavy rain.
Heavy rain. Yeah. And
Sayyib is heavy rain. Yeah.
A Sawaik also means heavy.
Sawaika is lightning.
Is it also heavy lightning? Or
it is, no, it's just simple lightning. I mean, thunder is Ra'ad. Sawaika is the plural of Saiqa, and Saiqa is lightning.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we've done with the first 20 verses. Now we go on to the next part, which is now the green part. And remember, the address of the Quran shifts from the Prophet to the idolaters of Medina. So, Ya Ayyuha means O. An-Nas, I mean, remember, An-Nas is the people. And we have already discussed this earlier on, that here An-Nas is referring to the idolaters of Medina. So I can translate this as, O idolaters of Medina, or Wudu, worship. Rabba, Rabb, which is Lord, Kum, your. Allazi, he who, Khalaqa, created, Kum, you. So, O people of Medina, O idolaters of Medina, worship your Lord, who created you. Allazi khalaqa kum. Wa, and allazina, those who, min qabli, before, kum, you. La'alla, so that, kum, you. Tattaqoon, fear, or adopt taqwa. So the translation would be that, O idolaters of Medina, worship God who created you and those before you, so that you become pious, so that you save yourself. So the word taqwa is used in various meanings. To save oneself from God's wrath, to become pious, it depends on the context. So here it means actually to save oneself from the wrath of God. Tattaqoon means so that you become secure from God's displeasure. Allazi, again, he who, ja'ala, made, la, for, kum, you, al-ard, earth, firasha, bedding, and wa, and as-sama, heavens, bina, something which is supported, was sama, a bina. In fact, it is, the word bina would mean a building, something which is a structure. Wa, and anzala, sent down, min, from, as-sama, sky, ma, water, fa, therefore, akhraja, took out, be, from, he, it, min, among, athamarat, fruits, rizqallakum, as your sustenance. Rizq is your, lak, for, kum is yours, fa, therefore, la, don't, taj'alu, set up, lillahi, for God, andada, equal. Andada is the plural of niddun. Wa, and antum, you, ta'lamun, know. So the translation would be, he who made the earth a bedding for you, and the heavens a structure, and sent down from the sky water, and from that water he took out fruits as your sustenance. Therefore, do not make partners of God, even though that you know. What does this mean? Even that you know that he has no partners. So again, this is referring to their deliberate denial, that you do not set up partners with God. You know that he has no partners. So, فَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِلَّهِ أَنْدَادًا وَأَنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. And then, وَإِن كُنْتُمْ فِي رَيْبٍ مِّمَّا. Wa, and in, if, kuntum, you, we, fi is in, raib is doubt, mimma, from that, nazzalna, we sent down, ala, on, abd, servant, na, our, which means, and if you are in any doubt about what we have revealed to our servant, fa'tu, bring forth. In fact, fa'tu be is one package. It's a single word. Fa'tu be means bring forth. Surah means the surah, of course, referring to surah of the Quran. Mim mithli, similar, he, to it. So if you are in doubt, in kuntum fi raybim mimma nazzalna, about what we have revealed to our servant, referring to Prophet Muhammad, fa'tu, bring. Fa'tu be, bring. Surah a surah min mislihi, like it. So bring us something similar to the Quran. Bring a surah like the Quran. Wa, and ud'u, call upon. Shuhada, leaders. Kum, your. Mindu, except. Mindun means except. Allah, God. So call upon your leaders except God. In, if, kuntum, you, sadiqeen, truthful. So wad'u shuhada'akum min dunillahi in kuntum sadiqeen would mean call upon your leaders except God if you are truthful. What does that mean? If you are truthful in your claim that yes, you can bring another surah like the Quran. So the Quran is actually giving them this challenge. Yes, please go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. We have a couple of questions. So
okay, so I would suggest that we have questions at the end of each paragraph. So let me finish this paragraph and then we'll have questions. And similarly, I'll give you time after the next paragraph.
Okay.
So fa is and, in is if, lam, don't, taf'alu, you do, wa and, lan, certainly not, taf'alu, cannot, or can, lan taf'alu meaning you certainly cannot. So taf'alu is actually to do something. Fattaku, fa is therefore, ittaku means secure. An-nar is a fire. So secure yourselves from the fire. Allati, which, waqud, whose firewood, waquduha an-nas, is what? People. Wa is and al-hijara is stones. So if I translate it in a idiomatic way, it would be, therefore, if not you are able to do this, and certainly you'll not be able to do this. So fa'illam tafalu means if you are not able to do this, and then walan tafalu means that of course you'll not be able to do this. You will certainly not be able to do this. Then what should you do? Fattakun nar. Secure yourself. Save yourself from the fire. An-nar is fire. Allati, that. Waquduhana, whose firewood would be what? People and their stones. Referring afore to their idols, because idols were carved out from stones. U'iddat. U'iddat means prepared. Lil kafirin, for these disbelievers. So if you're not able to fulfill this challenge, in fact, the sense is that you are being given this challenge to produce a surah like the Quran, but you will not be able to do this. And if you are not able to do this, and certainly you're not able to do this, then protect yourself from the fire whose firewood would be people, these people, of course, referring to people who have intentionally denied, and their idols, their stone idols. So the stone, the word stones, hijara means stones, and it is the plural of hijr. And of course, it doesn't refer to ordinary stones. The context is to these stones, and the word alif lam, again, a defining article, refers to the fact these idols, these people who have carved out these idols out of stones, referring to their deities. U'iddat lil kafirin. Now, u'iddat refers to the fire. So u'iddat means prepared, referring to the fire. Lil kafirin, for these disbelievers. Va and bashir is an imperative, means give glad tidings. Allazina, they who, amanu, professed faith, va and amilu, did, salihat, pious, anna, that, la, for, whom, them, jannat, orchards, tajri, flowing, min tahte, below, ha, it, al-anhar, fountains or canals. So anhar is the plural of nahar, and nahar means canals or rivers. So the translation would be that give glad tidings to those who have believed and who do righteous deeds. So as-salihat is actually the attribute of a noun, which means a'malu salihat. Wa amilu a'malu salihat means that give glad tidings to people who have believed and have done righteous deeds, that for them are fountains or are canals or rivers below them, tajri, which flow below them. Anna lahum jannat, that there are for them are orchards or gardens below which canals flow, below which fountains flow. Kullama, whenever, rozeku, they are given, minha, from it, min samaratin, from their fruit, rizqan, means something to sustain them, the way we say rizq, which means something to eat. Qalu, they say, haza, this, allazi, that is ruziqna, given to us, min qabl, before. So the translation would be that whenever they are given a fruit from it as sustenance, whenever they are given fruit from it as sustenance, qalu, they say, haza allazi ruziqna min qabl, we have already been given this before. Haza, this, allazi, that, ruziqna, given, min qabl, before. So they would be astounded and they would say, well, if you give us, you're giving us this, let's say, apple or an apricot or some bananas, they say that we have already eaten them. But the fact is, وَأُتُوا بِهِ مُتَشَابِهًا, they would have been given something similar to it. Utu be means given, mutashabiha means something similar, biha, it. So the fact is that they would think that they have already eaten the same banana. But the fact is the new banana which will come to them, or the new apricot, or the new apple, or the new orange, it would be something similar to it. So basically the variety of the flavors of, or the flavors or the variety of the fruits of paradise is being talked about. So they would be astounded that they are given the same thing again and again. But the fact is that the taste of those things would be different. So they would be given a banana thinking that they have already had that banana, but when they will eat it, it would be something similar, but not exactly the same. So it's basically the aspect of variety which is being pointed here. Wa and la, for whom, them, fi, in, ha, it. Azwaj is the plural of zawj, means spouse. Mutahara means pure, untouched. You can refer it to other parts of the Quran, although as we go along, you'll see that the word mutahara, when it's used with zawj, it means that they are untouched, pure, virgins. No one has had the chance of mating with them, so they are untouched. Wa, and whom, they, fi, in, ha, it, khalidun, forever. So the translation would be, and they will be in it pure spouses. Wa lahum fiha, and for them, wa lahum, and for them in it spouses pure. Wa hum fiha khalidun, and they will be there forever. Where? In paradise. So ha is a pronoun referring to paradise. So one thing that might have become clear to you by now is that these words like ha, he, hum, antum, these are all pronouns. They are used in place of a noun. So wahum means and they. Fiha, in it. Ha is a pronoun referring to paradise, referring to that orchard, the Jannat that was referred to earlier on. So they will live in that paradise, khalidun, forever. Okay, so I can now take questions for the two paragraphs that we have just studied.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem. The first question comes from the chat and it asks, आयत 20 में लذهب में लाम फ़अल में तأकीद का माना है, माना पैदा कर रहा है? Okay.
Yes, the person is correct, but as I said, we are not going into the grammar. All that I can tell you at the moment, so that you can just stick it in your minds, is that at times when lam, the particle lam comes like this, it emphasizes something. So lazahaba mean he would definitely have taken away.
Thank you, Dr. Saleem.
The word the simple zahaba would mean taken away, and la zahaba would mean definitely taken away.
Mubashir, you're up next. Please go ahead.
Sir, my question is about wadu shuhadaakum. So here you have translated shuhadaakum as your leaders. So this is something we are not quite familiar with the mean. It's usually taken as the witness or something like that.
Yes, yes. So this is one of the usages of the Quran. At the moment, you will just need to note it down, because the word shaheed is used here. It is used elsewhere in the Quran also for leaders, people who are their chiefs towards whom they turn to. So this might be something new for you, but as I said, just note it down, and you'll see some of its examples and parallels as you go along in the Quran.
We have another question from Riyaz.
Okay, please go ahead. Inna Allah la yastahyi an yadriba mathalan ma ba'udatan fama fawqaha. Inna, indeed, Allah, God, la, no, yastahyi, to have shame. An, that. Yadriba masala, this is one word which means to mention an example, to state an example. Zaraba masal means to state an example. Ma, of ba'uda, is mosquito. In fact, masalamma is one word, is you can say an example of, and ba'uza means mosquito, fa is, and ma is of, something more, fawqaha, something even more beyond it. So the translation would be, God is not ashamed to state the example of a mosquito or something even more than that, I mean something even more ordinary. So fama fawqa means more, ha means it. So something more it is a literal translation, meaning something beyond it, something which is even smaller to it. So God does not feel shame in relating or mentioning the example of a mosquito or something which is even smaller to it. For, therefore, amma, as for, allazina, those who, amanu, professed faith, for, therefore, ya'lamuna, know, annahu, that it, al-haq, truth, min rabbi, from God, him, theirs. So those who believe, for ammallazina amanu, therefore those who believe, they think that it is from their God. They know it is from their God. It is from their Lord. So Rabb is Lord actually. So for ammallazina amanu, therefore those who have believed, they know it is the truth from their Lord. I mean, annahul haq, that it is the truth. It is not something which is a jest or something which is wrongly stated. So the sense here is that whenever the question of paradise is mentioned in the Quran, as you will see as you go along studying the Quran, at times examples are made, they are mentioned regarding paradise, and some of these examples are very trivial. So in response, God says that God does not feel ashamed that if he compares something with a mosquito or something which is even smaller to that, in order to divulge a reality. So what God is doing is that he is trying to make people understand, and for this he might be using very ordinary examples which might seem very trivial to people, but instead of questioning them, for ammallazina amanu, those who have believed, they know that this is a truth from their God, from their Lord. This is something which God knows. They know that they have some truth in them. But then there is an opposite group which has a different approach. And what is that? Wa ammallazina kafaru. Wa and amma, as for allazina, those who kafaru, disbelieved. So therefore the meaning would be, and as for those who have disbelieved, فَيَقُولُونَ, therefore yaqulun, they say, ma, what, za, it, arada, intention, Allah, God, bihaza, this, masala, example. So the translation would be that as for those who have disbelieved, they say, what is God's intention by this example? What does he mean by stating this example? Yudillu bihi kathira. Yudillu means God leads astray. Be, from, he, it. So through this example, God leads astray. Kathira means many. So through this example, God leads astray many. Va, and, Yahdi, gives guidance. Be, through, he, it, kathira, many. So the translation would be that through this example, God guides many, and God leads astray many, and God guides many. Va, and, ma, don't, not, yudillu, leads astray, bihi, through it, illa, except, al-fasiqeen, the disobedient. So the sense is that through this example, God leads away many and he guides many. But the fact is that he only leads those astray who are the fasiqeen, who are the disobedient. So wama yudillu, he does not guide those except who are fasiqeen, who are disobedient. And who are those? Allazina, those who yanquzuna, break. Ahd means promise. Ahdallah, God's promise. Min ba'd misaqihi, after making it. Min ba'd, after misaq, making the covenant, he, it is, and yaqta'una, they break. Ma, what? Amara, ordered. Allah, God, bihi, through it, and that they should join. Wa, and yusidun, spread disorder. Fi, in, and it is they, who, al-khasirun, who are in loss. So the translation would be الَّذِينَ يَنْقُضُونَ أَهْدَ اللَّهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مِيثَاقِهِ, those who break God's promise after they have made it with Him. After they have made this promise with Him, after they have made this covenant with Him. وَيَقْطَعُونَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَنْ يُؤْصَلَ, and they break what God has ordered them to join. And this is a term in the Quran. You'll find it being used elsewhere. It refers to, they are the ones who يَقْطَعُونَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَنْ يُؤْصَلَ. They are the ones who break blood relations, those relations that God had ordered that they should join. Yusala, to join. And what do they do? وَيُفْسِدُونَ.
Okay, so we'll just end since we only have a couple of minutes left anyway. So thank you all for sticking together, and inshallah see you next week. And we'll take the questions that we couldn't take today at the beginning of next week.